Before we start this problem, I have a favor to ask. So far, 86% of the people who watch my channel have not yet subscribed. My goal is to get to 50% by the end of this year. So if you have ever liked our videos and like what we post on this channel, I have a favor to ask, to hit that subscribe button. It helps this channel more than you know. And the bigger this channel gets, the better quality of videos and educational sessions you will see. So thank you and enjoy this episode. In today's episode, we are looking at a problem from Hackerrank, which is called group, groups, and group dictionaries. As you are aware of my channel, I normally have a Jupyter notebook on the right-hand side of the screen. This helps me break the problem into pieces because that's what we're trying to do in this channel. We're trying to show you how to break bigger problems into smaller chunks, code them, and get AI to help you. With this problem, I'm going to start by doing exactly the same, break it into pieces. What I'm not going to really do is to read all this explanation about what the group does, what the groups do, and what the group dictionary does. You are more than welcome to try them in your Jupyter notebook, but I'm going to run you through the task, the problem, and the challenge. This one is an easier one. So in the next 5 minutes, you should be able to understand, run your own code, and get on with your life. If not, leave your questions in the comments area. I am spending a lot of time to respond and make sure everybody understands the challenge. So here is the task. You will be given a string of S. So this is what I'm asking you to do. The first thing that you have to do is to make sure that you are aware that you will be getting an S. That S will be probably coming from an input function. If you haven't seen my video on the input function, the link is up the top right, but I will keep this as a placeholder and I'm just going to call it step 1. This is my step 1. What's next? Your task is to find the first occurrence of an alphanumeric character in S. You know that alphanumeric characters are A, B, C, D, E, F, G all the way to Z, and 1, 2, 3 all the way to 10 or 0 to 9, whatever, whichever you want to think about it. Now, our job is to find the first occurrence of an alphanumeric character that has consecutive repetitions, which means that it has been repeated. So let's look at the example. I'll go through the input format and output format, but the example is more important than everything. So the sample input here is dot dot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now you can see that I have some repetitions. Repetition number 1 is dot dot. Can we consider dot to be an alphanumeric character? I can quickly show you, which is pretty easy. So the string that you're looking to understand whether it is alphanumeric or not is dot, so you have to put it in quotations. And all you need to do is search for isAlNum, which is a function and can test whether this character is an alphanumeric. The response is false. So look, I'm not going to really count this dot dot as a consecutive repetition. Now I'm going to go next and find the next alphanumeric that has been repeated for the very first time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 0. And now I'm getting to a repetition. Look at that. 1, 1, 1. And that's why the response in the output is expecting to see number 1. Now, how do I write this in Python? Well, to make my life easy, I'm going to accept this in my input function. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm trying to create this example. And if I see I can create number 1 in the output, then I'll show you how to wrap it up and put it in Hackerrank. So I have copied that. And I'll come to my Jupyter notebook. I'll get rid of this example here. I'm just going to run the input function to ask me, what is your example? I'm going to paste that example from Hackerrank onto here. I'll press enter. And if I show you when I print S, I am taking S as exactly as the question. So to do this, I have to go each and every character within this string and do a test. But just remember that when I get to the end of the string, I don't have any more to test. So I don't want to go all the way to the very last character because then I can't test after that because after that, there is nothing. For example, after this number 3, there isn't anything. So I should only do my inspection until number 2 so that I can inspect number 3 as well, if that makes sense. I don't want to go outside all of this. So I'm just going to write a for loop that takes every character in the length of this string minus 1, because if it doesn't go to minus 1, then it will jump out of the string. So then just remember that this for loop is not going to run by itself. I need to use the function of range. And I will start with now thinking how to solve this problem again. So I can take every character, okay? The first test I need to run is if that character is alphanumeric. Let's do that. So the question is, if character, which is not really, we're not really taking the character itself, we're taking the index of the character. Let me show you why I say that. If I print the character, you will see that I am taking the indices of characters. Like I'm not taking dot, dot, 1, 2, 3. I'm taking index 0, index 1, index 2. So be careful. If I were to get the actual characters, I would just take S and I would take the character index within that string. If I print this now, you will see that I am actually printing the actual characters, which is great. Okay, now that it makes sense, what I have to do is actually do the testing whether this is alphanumeric. So I will say if inside S, when you look at the index for each character, well, the index, and if that is alphanumeric, okay, that is my condition number 1. I need to make sure I'm looking at alphanumeric values. That's good. And I need another condition because what I want to say, hey, make sure this one and this one and this one is alphanumeric when you're doing the test. And then once you pass test number 1, test number 2 is whether it has been repeated. Which means that if I look at number 1 and number 2, I am comparing those two values together. If I show you that in code, all I have to get is for S on that index, it has to equal for S in the one after. So I just want to make sure two things that are the same are sitting next to each other. This is a condition that I need. So, well, these are two conditions that I need. And if I print the result, if I print S that sits on that character, you will see that the only ones that I'm getting are 1, 1, and 2, 2. If I look at the actual S, you will see that, yep, 1 has been repeated, no repeat, no repeat, no repeat, no repeat. And if I go all the way, the next repeat is here. That's why I have 1s and 2s. But just remember, I want the first one, and that's it. All I need is the first occurrence of a character repetition. So right now, after this first printing, all I have to do is to break. Let me run it again. If I run this again, you will see that all I'm getting is number 1 here, which is very powerful. It does the job and breaks. It doesn't let that continue forever or until the end of the string. Now, question is, if these conditions are not correct or they don't meet, what happens? All I need to do now is to create an else, and I need to go back to the task and ask what the task do you want me if I don't find anything that has been repeated. Let me have a look. Ah, it's right here. It says print the first occurrence of the repeating character. If there are no repeating characters, print -1. All right, that's easy. Let me bring this one up and say print -1. Yep, I will get all the -1s because every time a character is not meeting those criteria, it's going to print -1. All I have to do is to just take the indentation away, and then I will have the answer that I'm after. So this was the easy solution. I'm going to show you a bit more fancy one, but first, let's see if this works. I'm just going to copy this, and I'm just going to come back here, and I need to make sure I import that reading as well. So this one doesn't have this first part, so let's just input first. That has to come here. Yep, the user will input, and then they will run all of this. I'll move my face to the other end, and I will run the code first. See if I'm getting any greens. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Yep, sample test case 0 worked, and I've got a congratulations here to celebrate. Let me submit the code. Once I submit the code, all cases have been successfully compiled. So that was the easy format, but I have also a bit more fancier format. If you want to stay on so that I can show you a bit more advanced version, it's just right here. For this version, I want to use the Regex. So let me call this version 1, and I'm going to make this look like this. And version 2, which all of this will be sitting in my GitHub for you to view. For version 2, I will do exactly the same. I will take the input from the user. Let me copy this input from the user because I want to show you how it works. Paste here and run. This time, I want to use Regex. I want to use the Regex library. So as I said, Regex, I have to import the library. Otherwise, it's not going to really work. Once you import the Regex library, and Regex library is not the one that makes a lot of sense, but in essence, it allows you to search for patterns within strings. It helps you to find emails, telephone numbers, wrong dictations, and such and such. So anything that you have to wrangle with strings, with text, remember that the regex library is very powerful. Now, what I want to do now, I want to define some sort of pattern and then search for that pattern. What is my pattern? Well, the pattern is I'm looking for any alphanumeric value that has been repeated for the first time. Writing the regex patterns are not the easiest thing, so I will prepare it right here and I will tell you what it means. If you have any questions, put it in the comments area and I'm more than happy to help you. So as I said, the pattern I'm working here with, I'm going to define it as such. Make sure the pattern starts with the letter R, which means that it is in the raw format. Once you have done that, you open brackets and make sure you close them once you have done. And you fill in with what the expectation is. I'm expecting to see A to Z in capitals, A to Z in a small, and 0 to 9. This is the definition of alphanumeric values. They are either A, B, C, D, E, F, G in capital or in a small, or they are numbers. Now that I have my pattern, remember, I'm not just looking for a character that is alphanumeric. I'm looking for the one that also repeats for the first time. And that is the tricky bit, because it doesn't really make sense for a human eye that reads it and understands it. But in regex, you mention that as such. All you have to do is to press \1. And this is very funny because, there is something that I have to fix here. This one has to go in here. I did not see that. All right. So here, what I'm asking for is find me any number or a letter, just one. And then find the one is exactly the same as that is sitting next to it. For example, if this is number 5, then this one makes sure the 5 also sits next to a 5. That's the pattern I'm looking for. So I'll run that pattern. And now I'm just going to ask the regex library, can you please help me? And how am I going to ask for help? Well, I'm just going to ask for an m variable, if you like. I'm just going to use the search function. And once I feed the pattern, I'll say, can you find this pattern inside S? Once I run that, if I print M, you will see that it is only a match object, and there is some form of matching that has been found, which is brilliant. And all I need to do now is do a bit of making this code beautiful so that it responds what digit or alphanumeric value was that we found that has been repeated. Now you might wonder, hey, Amir, how do we find out what exactly the number was? Well, remember that this problem from Hackerrank is about group. So if I look at group number 1, you will see that this is why we were talking about it. If I go group number 0, it is the actual value. And if I go to group number 1, that's the alphanumeric value that has been repeated. Now, I did not really want to print this here. All I have to do is to write an if statement. I will say if m, which means that if you were able to find any pattern as we asked you, then all you need to do is to print it. Now, let me indent this. Otherwise, remember that there is that otherwise, I want you to print -1, but it will print 1. And this is a bit more fancy, a bit more advanced code writing. I'm just going to copy the bits and pieces, paste them into Hackerrank, and see if this one works. This one wasn't an easy solution, but let's see if it works. Just going to keep the S input. Let me go back up. Yeah, I have S input. I will keep it here. I'll just make sure I'll add a strip function to the end of it, just in case there are any spaces before and after. I need to import RE, so I can just get rid of this, import RE, and then copy the pattern once you have imported RE, and then make the M here that is doing the search, and then run this if statement. So if I paste that there, run the code, fingers crossed it works. Yep, it did. And if I submit the code, hopefully all test cases are successful. That one is a bit funny. Come on. Ah, brilliant. That was all brilliantly done. Yeah, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel, and hit that like button. Thank you.